Welcome in week one of the NFL season, our first live show. Every Saturday, we're going to try to go live, talk about the games coming up. We have our picks down below. We're going to run through them. It's not going to be a lengthy show. Try to get you in and out so you can watch college at 11. But Dobbs, we saw the games last night. Let's just talk about them quickly. I think, the KC Baltimore game was interesting because, I don't know, I felt like we both had KC for that game, and I have our records up as well. But it just felt like the same old Ravens in terms of like the receivers couldn't get open, and even to an extent like a new part of the Ravens where like we saw like the line was not holding up against the Chiefs defensive line. And yes, it's one of the better defensive lines in the league, but I don't think Lamar has ever really had to deal really with a horrible, I don't want to call it horrible, but a tough O-line going through.
Well, no, and in reality, look, I'm with you. I'm not going to call it terrible, but look, it's looking like it could be one of the bottom units this year in terms of just production because it's not, again, to your point of, I want to bring this up as well. It's not just the fact that the O-line is now an issue, right? Like we were just saying, this has been the narrative for a long time now. And, I'm not trying to dunk on anybody or do any victory laps, but Ravens fans have been swearing in our comments, that were false, that the receiving core is coming together, that the weapons are coming together. Well, in reality, and I think Ravens fans would agree after yesterday, or not yesterday, 2 days ago. Look, we're in a situation now where if you're the Ravens, your two best weapons are your two tight ends. And it's not that there's necessarily anything wrong with that, but it puts you in kind of a unique situation compared to the rest of the teams in the league, right? And yes, I know. Like if anyone didn't see this, the reason Mark Andrews wasn't getting targeted is because he was double teamed like almost every snap of the game. Like Mark Andrews was out there getting doubled. That was the game plan. Isaiah likely was eaten, right? And that's all good if you're a Ravens fan. But the bottom line is at this point, and there's just no debating it. They need, not they, because Lamar does everything he can do, and you can still almost beat the defending world champs even with pretty bare bones around Lamar. But it's just like I think my main message at this point is Hunter. So if we don't see some type of rumblings around the deadline, if you're Eric DeCosta and you're not at least toying with the idea of bringing in a big name receiver, I don't understand. I just don't understand how you're going to sit here and say you're going all in. Because I feel like if you're the Ravens at this point, you got to be saying to yourself, that's all we are away. I mean, it's been obvious for a long time,
Yeah,
but it gets even more obvious when you're in their home stadium when they're defending the two-peat, going for three-peats. Like, wow, really all we're missing is just another weapon. And I remember, you're normally the guy to say something like that. Weapons, weapon. You know me, I'm like kind of like, well, your weapons will work if they work in your scheme. But with the Ravens, it's a little bit different. I mean, the Ravens are literally they're just a guy away from being able to compete
I feel
all
like
the
the
way.
biggest thing with the Ravens, and then we'll move on to Packers, Eagles really quick. The thing that's frustrating for me with the Ravens is it feels like they can never just put a complete unit around Lamar, right? Like when they had the wide receiver last year, they had the wide receiver last year, if that's what you kind of really want to argue with OBJ, but I still don't think that was a great receiving core. And now I don't feel like they've ever had the line and the receiving core lined up at the same time. And that's kind of been the unfortunate reality for the Ravens. And you saw Lamar running for his life. And I think Lamar's going to be running a lot more this year as the line kind of gets acquainted with each other. But overall, it's just kind of unfortunate because it seems like the Ravens consistently are just okay with putting off like investing fully in the line or I don't want to say that. The line's been good. Investing fully in the support staff for Lamar, which is kind of frustrating.
No, absolutely, absolutely. That's again, that's going
Yeah.
to be the narrative all year, Hunter, until they change it. Because we know the bottom line is this: the Ravens are a Super Bowl competitor, but do we believe that they're going to go all the way if they don't add another piece? I think that's kind of really that's just kind of the narrative at this point. And last thing while we're still on the Ravens, I just want to throw out because I saw a lot of discourse about it, and I know
Yeah.
you feel the same way. Look, here's the thing about this point. Upon initial review, when Lamar sailed Zay Flowers, everyone was saying, oh, like that was on Lamar, like Lamar. So, but in reality, especially when you're crunching it, that's on Zay Flowers where it's like that, and to the point of where Lamar's weapons need to step up. If you're Zay, you got to sit when it's zone. You're sitting on that. Like this is not man. We're not carrying it. So that was on Zay in Lamar's head. All right, I see you open. I'm gonna throw it, and you're gonna sit for me. And that's not what Zay did. So it just goes back to the point of Lamar's weapons letting him down. That's just another example. And and I'm not going to put on Isaiah Likely. Oh, his foot's out of bounds. That's not Isaiah Likely. But you get my point. The bottom line is we can go to the two most crucial plays at the end of the game and say, you know what? If the receivers did a little bit more, or the ball catchers did a little bit more, different game, different story.
Tell me what you think about the. Yeah, no bands. I agree. I don't like the way Henry was used. It felt like they used him pretty heavy early on and then stopped using. I think they had to do with. I don't know. Moving into Packers Eagles, Dobbs, what was your on this game?
Well, I think we can all agree. Let's just start from the bottom and go to the top. I think we can agree that unfortunately, if we get the news that a lot of people are expecting at this point, the Packers season could be in question, right? And that's terrible to say. I didn't want this for Packers fans. If you've been listening, you know that I've been a Jordan Love truther for going on about 5 years now, and that won't change. I will admit, despite the injury, honestly, one of Jordan Love's worst starts in a long time. Like, truthfully, wasn't a very good start. There was a lot of turnover worthy plays, a lot of stuff that you didn't want to see. But, irregardless, the Packers were this close to scraping it out. And the bottom line is when Jordan Love's out there, the Packers are still going to be a super competitive, Super Bowl contending team. We saw Jaden Reed make a huge jump. We were asking before the year, who's going to be the guy that really makes a jump for the Packers? And I was kind of tossing up between, I already knew Jaden Reed has the skill set. We already know, right, that Jaden Reed could make the jump. But it was like, I was also very encouraged by Dontavian Wicks last year. I'm like, I don't know who's gonna make the real big jump. And again, it's still up in there. But I think we can say comfortably after yesterday that all of a sudden Jaden Reed's looking like wide receiver one on that team, despite the fact that he plays in the slot more than he It does not matter. He is, in my opinion, it's kind of confirmed after yesterday. It's like Jaden Reed's looking like he's gonna be the Packers' biggest weapon on offense, right? But aside from all that, I think we can just agree that move over to the Eagles side. Saquon Barkley to the Eagles was the most fun and explosive free agent signing of the year, as long as he can stay healthy. I mean, he could go on and have I don't want to say record breaking, but a historic year for the Eagles specifically. I mean, the Eagles look like they're going to be right back to just pounding the rock. And words due. I think, I don't know how many people have been necessarily raving about it or whatever, but I think we can agree that Jalen Hurts looked a lot better than he did
Yeah.
last year, just already this year. And if you're an Eagles fan, you gotta love to see Jalen Hurts stepping out there, looking confident again. Throwing some real dimes in there, some ones where you're like, "Wow, hold on a minute, that's a real elite throw." Not that Jalen Hurts wasn't doing that last year, but just not at the same clip. If you're an Eagles fan, you got to be ecstatic to see that.
Yeah, I think my thing is Hurts made some pretty boneheaded throws that game. That was kind of tough to watch. But at the end of the day, like they still won the game. I do think, fortunately, I in Love video did not look good, and yeah, no bands. I would have to agree that Malik Willis and Sean Clifford, I don't know what they're going to do at the backup position. I feel like Tannehill's got to be on the phone at this point. So, that being said, I mean, I think overall it was a pretty sloppy game from both teams. I think the field contributes to that, which honestly, this doesn't really have to do with the game at all, but I think it was probably one of the worst international games I've seen. Like the atmosphere was horrible, the announcers weren't good, the production from Peacock was bad, so pretty disappointing. Hopefully, we get some better games on Sunday. All right, let's move into the picks this week. Um, so right now at have guys, is my mic only coming out of one ear? Can you hear me fine? But week one we have Pittsburgh at Atlanta. Atlanta is a 3.5 point favorite. I took Pittsburgh, and you are taking Atlanta. Dobbs, why are you taking Atlanta?
I think my thing of again, for me, it's just simple. I'll break it down as simple as possible. I think if you're looking at this from like a how do we expect the season to go thing. If you're the Falcons, you're like we're a Falcons fan. You're like we're riding high. Like we're gonna make the playoffs. We're gonna win the NFC South. We got to come out hot, right? I think on the other hand with the Steelers, it's like Justin Fields looks like he might start. That's no disrespect. Honestly, Justin Russ, it's kind of like we've been saying all year. It's like a toss up. It's like whatever. You're gonna have different skill sets. You're gonna have different offenses out there. But in reality, how much more productive is it gonna be either way? But you got Justin out there most likely. And then it's just kind of the expectation around the Steelers this year. We expect them to still be competitive. Good. I expect it to be a close game. I just think I'm riding with the Falcons on the fact that they're going to be riding high. The vibes are going to be immaculate. They're going to have the stadium packed, right? The Benz is going to be rocking. I think I'm just looking at it from that perspective of there's a lot of hype around this team this year. There's a lot of pressure to show up. Raheem Morris' first actual game. I think I'm just looking at it from the perspective of the Falcons kind of need to show up, and therefore I expect them to.
Yeah, I think Yeah, no bands. I'm working on that. For some reason, it's only coming out of one side. But with that being said, like Dobbs, I do believe in what the Falcons could be later in the year, but I struggle to see with how they gel early on. With that being said, I do think that they definitely have a more high-powered offense, especially if Fields is going to be playing. I did see the fact that Wilson is dealing with some calf soreness. I do think that the Steelers may win off pedigree early in the season, but then we're going to start to see some more woes offensively later as we go on. I just watching preseason, I know preseason doesn't say everything, but it was tough to watch them try to move the ball, except in that last preseason game. And I know the Falcons really like kind of upgraded late in the offseason on defense, but I still need to see them put it together before I'm willing to believe that that's a solid unit, you know?
No, absolutely. And I want to add on to that, because this is something where, we always talk about this type of stuff, but it's true. You know, you get Judon in the building, and yes, you expect him just to have another really good year and to be that same guy that you expect. But Judon's getting older, and again, you never know when that year of regression is going to come. If that year of regression is this year, all of a sudden, the Falcons D line that we expect to make this humongous jump, the jump might not be as big. But again, that's all hypothetical. It's not like I'm guaranteeing that Judon's not going to come in and make an impact. He totally could. He could come in and have a bigger impact than he was having in New England. But the point stands that look, it's kind of up in the air. And to your point, we don't know until we see it.
Yeah, no, 100%. Let's move into our next game. We have the Arizona Cardinals at the Buffalo Bills. Buffalo is a 6.5-point favorite. We both have the Bills. I mean, I think this is pretty self-explanatory, Dobbs. The Buffalo Bills, just from a talent and roster aspect, I mean, they're just a better team, and Arizona's just not there defensively yet. I think, like we've talked about kind of this offseason, that their offense is really, really underrated and can get going, but that defense is just going to get lit up all year, especially with Darius Robinson not getting early snaps and everything like that. So it's going to be tough to watch on defense because my imagination is you would be gashed because of the talent, but I do think Jonathan Gannon will be able to elevate it enough where the defense at least looks formidable maybe halfway through the year. But like I said, I think that offense will get rolling. I just think the Bills are a better team overall and probably take this game.
No, absolutely. And I think you always, you say to yourself, if you're like me at least, I factor in home field advantage, especially during week one, because it's like home field advantage always matters, but you have fans that have been waiting months to get in there and get the place rocking. We know how the Bills Mafia is going to come. We know that place is going to be electric. And just to the point you already made, look, we expect the Bills to still be a playoff team. We expect the Bills to still be really competitive. And as far as the Cardinals go, we expect a resurgence here, a year where we can start saying to ourselves, okay, Kyler Murray's back, right? Marv to Kyler Murray to Trey McBride. They got a little trio going on, and all of a sudden the Cardinals are starting to put it together. But I think we still agree that we don't expect the Cardinals to be necessarily a formidable opponent this year. And against a team like the Bills, I'm just going to be taking the Bills most times against a team like the Cardinals because the bottom line is, to your point you already made, it's just about pedigree versus expectations. And the Bills already have the pedigree, right? We expect the pedigree to come out on top versus the team that's kind of on the rise. But to finish off, I think it's just, Cardinals fans, I'm not counting you out. I mean, if the Cardinals won this game, I wouldn't be absolutely shocked or anything. It's not likely, but all in all, Kyler Murray can come out there. If Kyler Murray comes back looking like that vintage Kyler Murray MVP, pre-injury, hey, anything's possible. Not counting the Cardinals out, but I'm definitely going to lean the Bills for multiple reasons.
No, I think I actually fixed my mic, so I think we're good now. So I think it sounds better both sides. But with that being said, I do think that this is going to be one of those teams that next year could really make a strong, strong push for the playoffs. I think it is going to be kind of, and I mentioned this when I did the power rankings, like the Cardinals have honestly done one of the best rebuilds in the NFL for what I see.
No, absolutely. And that's why it's like, I don't want to make it seem like we're taking anything away from the Cardinals, right? Like, it's like again, back to you're on the right track, but it's just a team like the Bills is already maybe a track ahead of you. They're on a different track right now. They're on a better track than you right now. That doesn't mean they're going to stay on the better track forever,
Right.
but it's just the bottom line right now, right? I mean, Josh Allen, And I think we can all agree. I think at this point, after it's a little side note, but after seeing how Xavier Worthy ended up, playing for the Chiefs that first game, all of a sudden there's a lot of lore over here. Like, how's Keon Coleman gonna do? The Chiefs and Bills
Yeah.
fans batting heads. Oh,
I
my guy's gonna be better. That's a fun little side storyline here.
I mean, I think honestly, let's. I mean, I don't know. I think Keon is probably gonna take a little bit more time than Worthy because their games are different. Like Worthy's gonna be using speed. Like Keon is gonna have to learn to separate at an NFL level based off his release and everything like that. Worthy's just gonna have the speed to beat him. Like Keon doesn't have that luxury.
No, yeah, and everybody forgot that Andy Reid is the guy dialing up plays for Xavier Worthy
Right,
too. So
right.
not, we already saw how creative it's going to get, how fun it's going to get. And side note, not even on the top, I'm not even on them yet, but that little, the little sweep to him where he had like a
Yeah.
little 25-yard run. Oh, the play action off of that in a couple weeks is going to be absolutely beautiful. I don't know when it's coming, but just know it's coming soon.
All right, moving in to Tennessee at Chicago. Chicago is a 3.5 point favorite. I believe it dropped a point from the other day. I think it was -4.5. We both have Chicago. I do think generally people are sleeping on what the Titans can be this year. I think with the additions of, Ernest Jones, I think that was probably one of the more underrated moves of the offseason. I know it just happened, so it's probably not talked about a ton, but he was good for the Rams. He was a good player for the Rams. He's young, and they didn't have to give up much for him. You have Tavondre Sweat, Jeffrey Simmons on the inside. Hopefully Skronsky and Cushenberry can take that step. You have J.C. Latham playing tackle as well. So 3 out of the 5 spots seem like, average. As long as they can be average and keep Will Levis alive, that's good. I'm interested to see the run game. They've obviously built up this receiving group. They have a decent secondary. So this team is really, in my opinion, veteran heavy in terms of those skill position players. But if they're able to supplement through the drafts these next couple of years, this team can really be something. But this isn't like a rebuild year like we thought it would be for the Titans. So while I do see the Bears winning this game because I think their talent is higher end at certain positions, I could see Tennessee coming into Chicago and taking it away, especially because, Caleb is a rookie. It's his first home game. We might see some jitters. And Will Levis has played in the big-time games we've seen. He doesn't really give a fuck, and he's willing to just sling the ball wherever. So, yeah.
See, no, and I'm with you. I think all those points are valid. But you know what? I'm gonna say because you know what? But I don't blame you. You're a Bears fan. You don't want to put any jinxing in there. You want to, you want to keep it nice and. But I'll tell you. So because I can't go into the jinxing. Like it's the rule, Hunter. If you're not a fan of the team, you can't be a part of the jinxing, right? So like I'm gonna just say it like, look, and as much as everything you said about the Titans, I completely agree with, right? Like we've been saying, the Titans are one of the biggest question marks in terms of, but in a positive way, where at their floor, they're a mid-level team that's starting to
Right,
really put things
right.
together. At their peak, they surprise a lot of people and make a playoff run. And oh wow, Will Levis is the future for sure. And okay, so you're in a great position for the Titans. Let me be crystal clear. But I think bottom line that I'm not afraid to say it. I don't think look, Caleb, yeah, maybe some jitters or whatever. I think Caleb is going to come out and have a great game. I think he's going to make some throws just like he did in the preseason. Where we're going to go, oh man, like this is what the wait has been to see Caleb Williams. The Bears receiving core is going to be
Yeah,
ready. I know. So with Keenan Allen, I know it's still whatever. But I think even if it's just right, even if Keenan's not out there, we still have a great group of pass catchers.
yeah,
Even DeAndre Swift in the backfield. Like the bottom line is this: the Bears, in my opinion, they need to show up and take this week one to make a statement because there's been so much, narrative around, just you know what I'm talking about
yeah,
the
yeah. I
Caleb
know,
hate,
yeah.
all this stuff. I think if you're the Bears, you really got to come out here and handle business week one and say, yeah, we kept Flus, we got Caleb, and y'all can say whatever you want. This is the future. We're here, and we're done hearing these what ifs. This is the Bears of the future. I think this is the week to come make a statement.
The biggest thing with the Bears, in my opinion, Dobbs, is they can lose this game, but they cannot come out flat like they did last year against the Packers. And that is going to be the number one indicator on how this season's going to go because you came out so flat against your division rival last year, one of the biggest rivalries in football. And if you do that, if you come out flat to a Titans team that you could beat with the talent you have, with the people you brought in through the draft, the people you brought in through free agency, and you all go out there flat, which I don't think they will, that's going to be a very, very bad indicator for the season. And no bans. Just to talk about the Ernest Jones thing really quick. I don't think they're going to have him doing too much complicated stuff. I think they'll probably just have him doing some pretty simple things, and he may not get all the snaps, but we could have oh my God, what's the linebacker we always make fun of? Dobbs. What's his name?
Oh, you talking about our boy Kenneth
Murray.
Murray?
Yeah, Kenneth Murray might get most of the snaps. So, but also let's move in to our next game. We have New England at Cincinnati. Cincinnati is a 7.5-point favorite, and we both have Cincy.
To nobody's surprise.
Yeah, I mean, I'm honestly surprised they're only a 7.5-point favorite. I don't know if Christian Barmore is playing. And then you also have, you don't have really a pass rush. Christian Gonzalez is going to be back. Kyle Duggar's going to be back. But that line with Jacoby Brissett and rookie receivers, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I know T. Higgins and Jamar Chase might not play, but this still strikes me as a team that should really, really kind of win this game handedly by 2 or 3 touchdowns.
No, absolutely. And I think my big thing is too at this point, look, if you're looking at the Patriots injury report, it's kind of like there's a lot of guys that might not be playing. And again, most of them look like they're leaning towards it, but City Sell is for sure out. So you're already down one starter. On the line that we're already worried about. And the bottom line is with this game, look, and there's nobody who's going to sit here and debate this. This is one of those, because I think this is the big problem with the Bengals, and this is why it's time to turn around. The narrative has been for so many years now, we're like 3-4 years in a row on this, where they're always, we know the Bengals are going to be a really good team as long as Joe Burrow's healthy, but they start out so slow.
Yeah.
And they're losing the first game of the year, first couple games of the year. This is your biggest opportunity to like put that behind you and be like, yeah, like we finally have a chance to like really start the year really hot, and we can go like really put up a big number on these boys. No disrespect to the Patriots, but the bottom line is just that you are a much more stacked out roster at this point. Yeah, their defense is still going to give them some fits. It's not like it's going to be an easy game by any means, but you are the more talented roster. You are the healthier roster. And if you're the Bengals, there's just no excuse not to come out here and win this game for so many reasons, right? I mean, it's Jacoby Brissett was dealing with injury.
If Joe Burrow doesn't come out and win this game, there's going to be problems. Like, there will be talk. Like, there's already people that talk like Joe Burrow sometimes like isn't an elite quarterback because of the injuries and everything like that, and he hasn't been able to stay healthy. You have to come out and win this game against a basement team in the NFL. And if you don't, especially because your team is much more loaded with talent, you have a good defense. Like, there actually no excuses. Like, I'm doing a survivor pool. Like, this was my survivor pick for the Bengals because, like, the Bengals to me start slow. And, like, I could pick them later, but, like, if you don't win against New England, but doesn't it kind of seem like a trap game? Like, it seems like New England could come in and win this game, unfortunately, which is really, really annoying because the Bengals should just walk in and win this no problem.
Wait, are you trying to tell me that you think the Patriots, you think that they got Jared Mayo's got a couple tricks up his sleeve like Flus?
Ugh. I'm very, that's probably the most interesting thing that I'm excited for with the Patriots this year is I don't think they'll play Drake May till later. I think they know that offensive line is a liability, but Gerard Mayo is going to be one of the most interesting storylines to me because he was the successor that was picked by Bill, and if he doesn't pan out, I don't know, man. Like, the Bill coaching tree has not been good.
Yeah, no, and I just want to say too, while we're still on it, because a little side note, but I know you agree with this 100%. Patriots, because we kind of touched on it. Pats fans, if I see Drake May walking out there anytime before like week 10 or 11, I'm just going to say a major prayer for you guys. Yeah. I'm going to say a prayer for his development because you don't want him back out there behind that O-line. Just no. You don't. Don't lie to yourself, Patriots fans. It's long term. It's long term, baby. Just give it some time. Give it some time.
Houston at Indiana. Houston is a 3-point favorite. We both have Houston winning the game to probably, I don't know. I feel like you could sell me on the Colts winning this game. Like, you could really sell me on that.
No, you definitely could.
am still under the belief that Anthony Richardson is going to take his bumps and bruises quite heavily this year because he didn't get to have it fully in his rookie season. So, with that being said, I think I have to go Houston, especially with the additions of Danielle Hunter and Stephon Diggs. And it's only a 3-point game, so it should be close, but it does strike me as a game where if Anthony Richardson lets up a few turnovers, 2 interceptions, or an interception and a fumble, I think this game could get out of hand pretty quickly in terms of, getting a 2-touchdown lead and not really letting up, especially with the addition of Joe Mixon. That ground game for the Texans is definitely going to be a little bit more deadly than whatever it was last year.
No, absolutely. And I think so. The good thing about this game is, like this is a game where relatively like there's really no injuries, right? We're kind of going in like fully healthy, minus Josh Downs for the Colts, minus MJ Stewart for the Texans. Right? Like we got two basically fully healthy rosters going head to head, which you love to see. Because then there's really no debate for this, that. Okay, it's two healthy rosters. We get to see going head to head. You love to see it. But to every point we just made, look, I think we could kind of say though, and I don't need to compare it because it is a different caliber of opponent. But if you're the Texans, right, it's kind of like we were saying about the Bengals or the Bills, right? It's kind of like or the Bears. I mean, not the Bills, the Bears. You kind of got to come out and make a statement. I feel like with after how that last year was, and not that it ended bad. It was a fantastic season. That's my point. Is I think you want to carry that momentum without having to have your fans go, wait, but we just lost the team that we beat to get into the playoffs, and we're
Right.
heavily improved, and like they're going back to the quarterback that, and again, we have a lot of faith in Anthony Richardson, but right, he wasn't playing like Joe Flacco was playing good ball for the Colts, really good
He
ball
was
for the Colts
playing
last
probably
year.
better ball than what
So
A-Rich. Yeah.
I'm saying if you're the Texans and you lose that game, the first game of the year, you're saying to yourselves like, well, what went wrong? We made all the improvements. They improved a little, but we can't be losing this game. And I think that if you're a Texans fan, you would agree with that. And if you're a Colts fan, you would still agree with that. Like obviously you're a Colts fan, you want to win this game desperately, and you should. And you should have faith you're going to win this game. But you can still agree with the sentiment that the Texans are a better team on paper and they have higher expectations on paper. So if you're the Texans and you can't go out and get the job done here, week one, not that there's not going to be a world of pressure on them. CJ Stroud, I think, has a really strong head on his shoulders. I wouldn't worry about it. But of all the, of the few teams that really don't want to fold week one, I think the Texans are really on that watch list because it's like you have so much expectation with a fan base that's been starving for some, for like
Right.
long-term success. And it's like now's your chance to really say like, we're all in, like we're here.
Let's move in to our next game. We have Jacksonville at Miami. Miami is a 3.5-point favorite. Dobbs, you took Miami. I'm taking Jacksonville. Why are you taking Miami?
I think, look, I just, my bottom line is I expect this offense to show up hot like they always do early, right? Like, I think that this offense is going to be ready to go. Mike McDaniel's going to have a couple, flus tricks up his sleeve, joke of the day. I think he's going to have some, some fun, crazy stuff ready that nobody's been seen on tape yet. And, some explosive plays just ready to dial up, and to the point of, look, as far as the Dolphins defense goes, right, I'm a little, right, do I know how to feel it about it? Absolutely not. And that's the biggest question mark is if this Dolphins defense comes out incredibly flat, like I always like to say, if you leave that soda out on that patio or if they come out like that,
Patio soda
if they come
defense.
out, if they come out like a patio soda, it's a whole different story. But I expect the defense to at least hold their own. I think the pass rush scares me the most, but the bottom line is we're gonna see what Chop Robinson's made of. We're gonna see what we're gonna see who is ready, who's ready to stay healthy again for this team. Uh, it just comes down to the offense more than anything for me, though. I think it's going to be a close game. I think it will be a fun game, more one of the most fun ones of the weekend. But all in all, I can't. I just couldn't fade my boy Mike McDaniel in week one,
Oh, I'm
knowing
fading. I'm fading
he's
him
gonna
heavy.
have the fun. I know you're fading, but I think we're gonna see some explosive plays. We're gonna see some explosive plays here, Hunter. That's how I'm viewing it.
So please tell me how I like Aaron Brewer, but Robert Jones and Liam Eichenberg are going to stop Eric Armstead, Josh Allen, Trayvon Walker. This line
Oh,
to
valid.
me is not good enough to stop this defense. And while the Jags do need another corner, and they might have a tough day in the secondary. I'm not gonna lie. Guarding Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle is gonna be tough, but I do think they should be able to at least contain the defense. And if you think Ryan Nielsen isn't in his office scheming up as much as he can to stop from explosive plays by these guys, you're sorely mistaken. The biggest thing for me is I think that the defense can hold up with the offensive firepower of the Miami Dolphins. My concern then goes to the Jacksonville Jaguars offense because of the fact of we know what happened last year with the play calling. It was just not good by Press Taylor. If Doug Peterson can be the one to call the plays and call the shots, they have the weapons. They have Brian Thomas Jr., who has shined in camp, and yes, it's camp, yes, it's preseason, whatever. He is an athletic freak and should be a very good player for them. You have Gabe Davis, you have Christian Kirk, you have Evan Ingram. Tank Bigsby could take off. Travis Etienne, right?
Yes, no,
I was watching his brother Trevor. Yeah,
we've been scouting his little bro, so, you're getting a little confused. I've been doing the same thing.
They should win. In my opinion, I think the Jags are a more well-rounded team than the Dolphins are. So it is going to be an interesting game, but as we know, the Jaguars are kind of a weird team where it's like they were the 1 seed for like 8 weeks last year, and then they just kind of fell apart. So it's going to be about consistency for the Jags, and I do think that if they are able to find just level ground throughout the year, this could be one of the more competitive teams in the AFC, and that's why I think they just have more chances throughout the game to be more steady, where, to me, the Dolphins are very explosive, like boom or bust.
No. You know what, Hunter? First one of the year. I'm not even kidding. I'm doing it right now. You got me live switching. You know why? Because honestly, I just didn't consider enough that you're spot on. Like I was thinking too much about the explosive plays, the fun. I forgot my roots, the trenches.
Forgot the roots.
I forgot my roots. I'll never forget again, Hunter. I appreciate the reminder. You know what? We're always going trenches first, and you're spot on. These Jags trenches, truthfully, should give the Dolphins trenches hell, and I'll stand on that. So you know what? I'm making a swap live. I'm sorry, Dolphins fans. I'm sorry.
Yeah, unfortunately, I cannot change it on here, but we'll know.
Yeah, right. Well, I'll remember. I changed it on mine. So
let's move in to the Carolina New Orleans game. Carolina at New Orleans. New Orleans is a 4-point favorite. Dobbs, it should really be more, shouldn't it?
Should it though?
No, it shouldn't. I'm just saying, but I'm saying like it's sad that the Saints can't get more than 4 points at home versus the Carolina Panthers, who were 2-15 last year.
But you have to remember, they were seeing they took a look at the depth chart and they said, "Wait a minute, Lucas Patrick.
Yeah, it's bad.
Wait a minute, Trevor Penning. Wait, and look, let me be crystal clear.
Dobbs, I'm a live switch right now to Carolina.
If Trevor Penning can end up somehow, I don't know, dude, some New Orleans magic shit. I don't if and somehow end up having even just a midline season. I actually do think it can change the trajectory of the Saints pretty fairly. But the bottom line is this, and you know this, Hunter. Our trenches right now, not on the defensive side. Look, I have faith in the defensive side. But the offensive trenches, there's no easy way to say it. It really might be one of the top 3 worst units in the entire league right now. And again, not that I don't have a lot of faith that Talise Fuaga can end up really turning into a really good tackle over the next couple of years, but he's making that switch from the right side to the left side. We know how it normally goes. You're never going to usually step in and instantly be a world beater at that position the first year. We've seen how it has to go with these other prospects. Even if they end up becoming really good, there's usually a year or two where you're starting to ask, are they going to be able to make the jump? And then they make the jump. But so then that leaves us really with just Eric McCoy, who'd actually have expectations for this year, playing in the middle. His 2 guards, there's no nice way to say it. They're not the guys. They're not the guys. I'm sorry. I'm speaking to Saints fans right now. Like, Saints have a lot of work to do on the O-line. It's just and it's just trench talk, Hunter. It's trench.
I don't mean to alarm you, but on ESPN on the depth chart, the Saints don't appear to have anyone behind Cesar Ruiz or Eric McCoy.
Oh yeah, no, I've already noticed that too. I was gonna say that was my next point. I was gonna say is not only do we not have the guys
who's playing center, Taysom Hill.
Like, not only do we not have the guys, we don't. If something happens to the one of the guys, who are, and that's why too. Little side tangent here, but if you're a Saints fan, you're gonna know exactly what I'm talking about. All off season, I'm getting these reports. We're getting someone in the building, and I'm like, I can't wait to see who it is. Jesse Bates was cool and all, but it's like we don't need a safety.
Yeah,
we're getting receivers in the building, running backs. And I'm like, scrolling, what the fuck are we doing? Mickey, we need O-line. It's crystal clear to everybody else besides, I guess, the front office. All the other shit's cool and all, but that's not where we were lacking. We're lacking on the offensive line.
All right, let's switch to everyone's favorite topic of the NFL, the Carolina Panthers. let's see what they can do this year. I think they improve the interiors of both their defensive lines. Well, yeah, no. I don't want to say improve the interior of their defense. They extended Derek Brown, but they did bring in 2 guards to play. So I do think Bryce Young will be better off. I think with having a younger play caller, they're in a better spot. Once Jonathan Brooks comes back, if they're able to establish a pretty good run game, it should take some more pressure off them. But with that being said, I mean, what they did at pass catcher, I think Deontay Johnson is a nice addition to try at least repair that room. You have Xavier Legette, you have Adam Thielen. It's not as bad as people think. I do think, though, that the Panthers are still one of those basement teams that has a long way to go in terms of talent, because while they might have a nice couple pieces here or there, when it comes to depth, it's really not good. I mean, we know the Panthers have been a team that has been historically pretty bad at drafting. So with that being said, there's really not much depth there. So I think that's the biggest thing is, like, this isn't the Panthers' year right now. So I don't know if you have anything else to add right there, but I do think there is a chance they win this game.
No. What I was going to add is, look, if the Panthers win this game, it's going to be because Derek Brown and Jadeveon Clowney go absolutely nuclear on our own line, and that wouldn't surprise me to see that happen.
Oh,
It still would be surprised to see the Saints lose this game, because there really should not be an excuse. Like, we still have the better roster. We are playing right in the building in our home. It's like there should not be an excuse to not win this game, irregardless. But I do expect it to be closer than a lot of people think, and I think that I'm gonna leave it at that.
Moving in to our next game, we have the Minnesota Vikings at the New York Giants. Minnesota is favored by 1.5 points. Favorited by 1.5 points. I have Minnesota. You have the Giants. Sell me why the Giants should win this game.
You know what? This was actually all I was thinking when I made this pick. And it actually goes back to the little narrative we were talking about before, where just a little side note, how Ivan Pace was saying how it ain't gonna be, if you haven't seen, Ivan Pace said it's not gonna be a matchup at all. Like, we got their number. They're basically saying they're trash, just straight up in
Crazy.
the media, like they're trash. And I'm gonna have to disagree with you here, Ivan. Not that, look, I do think you're spitting facts. I think that this Vikings defense has got some pieces, and I think you guys could, right? You should come out there and win. But that's where I'm taking this out of the equation. Where, Hunter, I think I might get you to flip here too, because I'm gonna pull a little Jacksonville Jaguar special on you here. I think we got to remember, not that this Vikings O line is not a good unit, it is, but I'm looking at this Giants D line with Sam Darnold out there, and I'm saying, you know what? I think that this Giants D line can just wreak havoc on Sam Darnold all day long. And it just, to me, it's going to come, that's all it came down to, is I'm looking at the matchup and I'm saying, you know what? I think that this Giants D line is going to have a fucking day. And not
it
that,
very well could.
Like, let me be clear though. The O-line still for the Giants and the offense.
Yeah.
It's going to be a close game because I don't expect much from this offense.
I just think my biggest thing, Dobbs, is, like, I question the interior of the O-line for the Vikings. Their tackle situation is not bad, so I'm not really concerned with off the edge, but the interior pressure is what I would be concerned about if I was Sam Darnold. The big thing for me that I am concerned with, like you were talking about, is the offensive line for the Giants, especially with a very, very blitz-happy Brian Flores, adding Dallas Turner, adding Jonathan Grenard, adding Van Ginkel. Like, their defensive line isn't the best in the world, but with what they can do on defense, and their safety room or their cornerback room isn't as dire as it was maybe a month ago with the addition of Stephon Gilmore. So I just think if you want to go position for position, the Vikings have a better chance. And when you look at offensive skill positions, Justin Jefferson, and yes, you have Malik Neighbors, but, like, okay, realistically, and I sound like an ass here, I'm going to trust Sam Darnold to get Justin Jefferson the ball more than I trust Daniel Jones to get Malik Neighbors the ball.
No, but see, I don't even think you sound like an asshole saying that, because I think it's like also we're considering that Kevin O'Connell's going to be dialing up. Yeah. He's going to keep it safe. He's going to keep it smooth. And not that Dable's not going to do the same thing, but at this point, Daniel Jones has kind of showed us, especially back to the preseason, like, you just don't know what to expect anymore from Daniel Jones. Like,
no. We know what to expect.
That's
we're trying to play this game that, like, we're all trying to play this game like, oh, well, maybe Daniel Jones could be this. No, he stinks. He stinks. We all know he stinks.
He stinks almost every week, but every once in a while, he'll pull up and surprise you. That's the problem. But you know what? That's my thing. You know what, Hunter? This is my Daniel Jones surprise week. No, no apologies. But if Ivan Pace ends up, if they live up to the hype and Ivan Pace ends up, you know what? I'm gonna give my shout out to Ivan Pace next week. But if they don't, you know what, Vikings fans, I'm gonna have to chirp you guys a little bit for the early celebration. That's all I gotta leave it at.
Las Vegas at Los Angeles Chargers. The Chargers are a 3-point favorite. We both have the Chargers. I just think it's really funny because the strength of the offense for the Chargers is the offensive line, and the strength on defense for the Raiders is the defensive line. So this should actually be a pretty good matchup if you like trench ball. But when you watch the skill
French
positions,
ball.
you
Let's
know, Justin Herbert's
go.
going to be throwing to Josh Palmer, Lad McConkey, which isn't the worst thing in the world. You got Gus Edwards. J.K. Dobbins is playing like his first full year, hopefully, in the NFL without a, torn ACL or Achilles or whatever he's been going on these last couple of years. So, but then on the flip side, you have the Raiders, who are going to be handing off to Zamir White 50 times a game because Aiden O'Connell or Gardner Minshew can't get the ball off to, Devontae Adams. It's going to be a frustrating year, I feel like, for Las Vegas. That team is going to play really hard, but I just think they're going to come up short at quarterback. And if we want to look at it, I'm taking Justin Herbert and Jim Harbaugh over Gardner Minshew and Antonio Pierce. That's really how I look at this matchup.
No, no, and I want to say too because this is really like this probably is gonna be one of the closest, most fun games of the week because to your point of look, but I don't want to fade him. Like I think AP is gonna have a great game plan. I think this defense is gonna come firing on all cylinders again. But it just comes down to everything you just said. Look, like Herbert, I think is gonna make the plays that Minshew isn't, and I
Yeah.
think you can. That's almost just the simplest way to say it. Like it's gonna be a close game. And I don't think Minshew's going to come shit the bed or anything. Like we know Minshew, right? Like Minshew's a ball, like not a baller. He's a fighter. That's why he's
He's a
a
gamer.
fighter.
He's a
He's a
gamer.
gamer. Yeah, he's a gamer, right? Like he's like. And some weeks he's a baller. You know, to his credit, some weeks you're Minshew. You're like Minshew mania, man. I love it, but it's not consistent. It's not. And we know Herbert. Herbert is relative to Minshew much more consistent, right? We expect behind this new reformed O line. I think we're going to see. You know, how about this little hot take? I wouldn't be too surprised to see Brendan Rice get a ton of snaps and kind of like even match Lad McConkey in terms of volume, where all of a sudden you're saying to yourself, like, wow, like, because I was on the Brendan Rice train. You know, I feel like a lot of people kind of really weren't ever even hopped on. But I've been on the Brendan Rice train for a while where I didn't expect him to go as low as he did. But I think it was kind of a blessing in disguise where Brendan Rice to the Chargers did just feel right. Like Justin Herbert to Brendan Rice just sounds right. Another big target for Justin Herbert with that laser of an arm. So I think all of a sudden, right, if Quentin Johnston can come in and also like little, side note, but if Quentin Johnston can come in and have a resurgence this year and show why he was worthy of that first round pick and actually finally live up to what we expected coming out, all of a sudden, a lot of people are really low on this Chargers receiving core. But I'm saying like you have a lot of young guys that could really start to gel all at the right time, and all of a sudden you could have one of the best receiving cores in the league in the next few years. Again, it's far from guarantee, but I'm kind of looking at it like I see a lot of potential where maybe some other people are kind of sleeping.
Denver at Seattle. Seattle is a 6-point favorite. We both have Seattle. I think that the Broncos could win this game. I do. I just think the talent on the roster in Seattle is so much better than what they have in Denver, even though I think that Sean Payton will probably get more out of his players in terms of just a whole team aspect, a culture aspect, because we have a first-time head coach in Mike McDonald. You have Ryan Grubb there in the offensive coordinator. So it's a new coaching staff. And that is where I think that the Broncos can win this game. It's based off experience, based off pedigree. But the Seattle Seahawks should win this game based off talent. We know that's not how it always goes. So I don't know. I think Seattle is kind of the easy pick here. I feel like if you take Denver, no one's really going to scoff at it either, even though Seattle, in my opinion, could be a playoff team. Denver, I don't really know.
Yeah, I think. Well, again, it's just we've been saying it. We've been echoing the same sentiment all season, but it's not changed at all, right? If the Broncos, almost every game the Broncos win, we're going to go back and say Sean Payton had a masterclass game, and that's kind of what it's going to come down to. And I want to say this: I wouldn't be surprised in the slightest if Bo Nix comes out and looks so much better than everybody expects early on, and all of
He
a sudden,
will.
I think he will, and you know, that's where I can really see the Broncos winning this game is all of a sudden if Bo Nix comes out looks so much sharper than we expect, right? He's dialed in, he's making all the right little just all the hot reads, he's getting the ball out quick, which is what exactly we expect. It is a winnable game for the Broncos, right? Like, this O line, you see the vision, right? Like that's the one thing I will say too is at least if you're a Broncos fan, you can look and you say, at least we basically have the O line not all the way figured out, but we have a lot of confidence in this O line to keep Bo upright. Yeah, the receiving core is nothing special, and the bottom line on the receiving core is it's kind of like, yeah, it's shaky. But it's Sean Payton. He's going to figure out a way to make it work. He's going to scheme you guys up. It's going to come down to the defense being able to make plays. And that's really kind of the problem is I'm not really worried about the Broncos offense. I'm much more worried about the defense, even though they, again, halfway through last year, they turned around a lot, looked like a much better unit. But are they going to be able to sustain it with the lack of playmakers they have? That's what's to be determined. And if you're the Seahawks, like you're saying, Seahawks have much more talent on defense, much more talent on offense. This is the Seahawks game to lose. And if they don't win it, it's on them. I think that's the bottom line.
Big Geno Smith game. Dallas at Cleveland. Cleveland is a 2.5-point favorite. I'm taking Cleveland. It's really going to come down to if Deshaun Watson can play like a top 20 quarterback. Really, like this defense shouldn't be bad for the Dallas Cowboys. I think Mike Zimmer is still a competent coach. They have Mike McCarthy. That run game scares me. I mean, I think they should be able to still cook. This is relatively the same receiving core they had last year. You have Guyton, you have BB, young players on the offensive line, so that could be kind of up in the air. But overall, I mean, Cleveland's line, defensive line and offensive line, should have a decent day. And maybe Jerome Ford. I don't know. I'm interested to see what this kind of look of the offense is going to be because we haven't really seen Deshaun Watson have success, but we've seen the defense be able to overcome his shortcomings throughout the year. So I'm going to go Cleveland. I just don't know if Dallas has the juice this year, but I think they could prove me wrong.
No, absolutely. I think this is one of those games that's kind of the biggest toss up. I took the Browns really for two main reasons, and you basically already touched on the first one. I think, look, you're at home. There's so much expectation this season. Everybody's saying there's so much pressure, right? Like Deshaun's got to turn around. We got to figure it out. We have the roster. It's just on Deshaun. And back to the thing you already mentioned then, the trenches. I mean, this Browns unit is absolutely loaded on the trenches. Not that the Cowboys aren't as well, but it's not the same. We got two rookies on the O line for the Cowboys, like you already mentioned. And this Browns defense, there's really just no excuse not to absolutely eat. Now, to the point of can Dak and CD make absolute magic happen? And right, can this be a shootout where the Cowboys run away with it at the end? Sure. I mean, I'm not counting the Cowboys out by any means. This is definitely one of the biggest coin toss games of the entire week. But it just comes down to the reality that we stick with our, I think you're the same as me at this point. It's like we stick to our roots. We look at the trenches, we evaluate from there. And I think that to me, there's no way logically that I can't say that the Browns trenches aren't going to show up enough that I'm not going to give them the edge in this game.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing. And I don't know. I don't trust. Dallas seems a lot more volatile this year to me than Cleveland will be. I mean, like we saw what Cleveland was last year when Deshaun Watson played bad. So it's like we know what it looks like. We don't know what the Dallas Cowboys look like if their defense is not playing. Well, we do at the end of the year, but like you know what I'm saying. Like they don't have a run game, so it's going to be interesting to see. Let's move in to our next game. We have Washington at Tampa Bay. We both have Tampa Bay. They are a 3.5-point favorite. Tampa Bay should be able to repeat what they did last year and possibly be better because they kept the same core. Yes, they brought in Liam Cohen as the new OC. Dave Canales left to go to Carolina. I just think, like, can we get what we got out of Baker Mayfield 2 years in a row? If we can, the Bucs are a playoff team. And
I think I want to add this
NFC South Division. What?
I think you might have forgot about something too. Did Todd Bowles get his swag back like Flus did?
Maybe. I don't know. He seemed loose in that press conference.
Did Todd Bowles happen to like? Did he get? Wait, I don't know if Todd Bowles ever had swag. No disrespect. I don't. But Todd Bowles came out a little swaggy in the press conference. I think Todd Bowles found his swag, Hunter.
He may have found his swag.
I think Am I buying a little bit of Buck stock off the swag upgrade? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I like it.
I like it because I was under the impression Todd Bowles might have been an android prior to that press conference because he's so well composed.
He's just stiff.
But now I've realized, Todd Bowles, he made, what he got in the lab. He said, "Wait, what if all I'm missing is the swag that Baker Mayfield? I just need to have swag like Baker." And he said, "You know what, Baker, teach me the ways." Jokes aside, I think I'm with you 100%. The Buccaneers are already a better team on paper. Back to trenches already. I mean, I think that the Bucs offensive trenches do scare me a little bit.
Yeah.
I do expect this D-line to be able to give this Washington O-line some fits, right? And just from a playmaker's perspective, I think Jane Daniels is going to have a really good game. I think Jane Daniels is going to have a really good rookie season. I just don't think he's going to be able to do enough versus this Bucks defense. And again, back to also, when you got the home field advantage as the better team, especially for week one. I'm always going to throw that into the equation a lot more, especially when it's week one. You have playoff expectations versus a team that does not have playoff expectations. If you're the Bucks, there's no excuse not to go win this game.
I just have a little bit of concern for the Bucks. I think there is a chance that Jane Daniels goes nuclear on the ground. Like I think he could go crazy
Oh,
week
he
one,
definitely.
because he's not going to have anyone to throw to outside of Terry McLaurin. So I don't know. I think Washington has a shot in this game. I just think it's Tampa Bay's game to lose, if that makes sense.
1000%.
Moving in to the Sunday night game, we have the Los Angeles Rams at the Detroit Lions. We both have Detroit winning. They're 4.5-point favorites. I think this team improved their roster over the offseason, obviously, through the draft picks and free agents. But with that being said, I think the Rams, to me, if healthy, are one of the dark horse Super Bowl favorites. In my opinion, I think they could go. I just think they have a lot of young talent, and I need to see them develop throughout the year. I think they'll be a late year team, whereas I don't think Detroit has lost that chip on its shoulder. I don't think that locker room has lost it. I don't think Dan Campbell has let them lose it. So I don't think they're going to allow Matthew Stafford to come into his old home and take a victory after they beat him there last year.
No, absolutely. And I think, you know what, it's already back to just the same main point, but it's so true. We'll keep going back to it because it's week one and it's true. If you're the Lions, you're coming off of a devastating loss. Your fans are all bought in. You're all bought in. You're at home and you're supposed to win. Right? It's like when all those things line up, it's like you just said, it's your about the Bucks. It's your game to lose. And not that the Rams couldn't come in there and give him a fit and really and win this game, even I don't want to say handedly, but I can see them really surprising the Lions and just like back to square one where we've been with the Rams. We're like, wow, the Rams are a lot more talented than I thought they were. And not that we
Tale
still
as
think that
old as time.
right, we still think that they're a talented team. We still think that they very much are a playoff team. But compared to the Lions and this Lions roster, I think we can all agree, even if you're a Rams fan, if the Lions were to lose this game with how much that they put into this roster that was already stacked, these trenches are absolutely loaded. I mean, if you can't go in there and give a much younger team with a lot more young budding stars
Yeah,
versus you have your guys, it's going to be kind of a punch to the face for Lions fans and the Lions because this is really one of those ones that you got to go take as for multiple reasons, right? The Stafford lore, but it's not just that. At this point, in reality, if you're the Lions front office, that shit's in the past, right? It's about the Jared Goff era. It's about making it work now. But if we can't make it work week one against a team that we have history against, that we like that we're a better team, then all of a sudden confidence starts to get in question. And you don't want that week one.
I
The Lions
think
got to go take care of business.
I think Detroit wins this game if they don't get down early. If they can contain the Rams early and just steadily score, even if it's field goals, like I think they have this game in the bag. Where I think they lose this game is if the Rams get out to a hot start, they can't really slow them down going into the half, and I just think it'll be a blow to them early in the year where it's like, oh God, what are we doing, guys? Like maybe not that they're gonna be thinking like, oh, maybe last year was our year, but that's gonna be, I think, a thing in their mind if they don't start out the season well. Like maybe we missed our opportunity, and I think that could be really bad for the psyche of the team. Overall, I just think if the Lions can come out and play their brand of football and don't have to cater to like trying to stop the Rams in a exotic way, they should win this game.
Absolutely.
Final game, New York Jets at San Francisco. San Francisco is a 4.5-point favorite. Why do you have San Francisco, Dobbs? I went with the Jets.
I got San Fran. Look, I'm gonna say this. I got San Fran at this point purely off of the pedigree, and I think more than anything, I think they're gonna be coming in really pissed off, and I don't blame them. Right? You've lost two Super Bowls in a very short period of time. And you're the Niners. You're saying to yourself, look, we're right there, and we still are right there. Like, yeah, there's been some turnover this year, but we're a team that deserves to go win the Super Bowl. We're a team that should be right back in the Super Bowl, and just from the perspective of look, you got Ayuk back, right? Like you had your playmakers. We know the Niners, like we know the pedigree. I think they're going to come out here and run the ball on them. Now, not that the Jets don't have a defense that's absolutely ready for that, But I think just from the perspective of Niners are going to bleed the clock, Niners are going to play good physical balls, they always do. And I think they're going to be able to out physical the Jets just a bit. But I want to be crystal clear. If the Jets were to win this game, wouldn't be surprised in the slightest. And it's kind of like this is probably the hardest game to pick this year to be fully not this
It was a
year.
tough
This
game.
this this is the hardest game to pick this week to be fully
Besides
transparent.
Pittsburgh and Atlanta, yeah.
But I'm going with the pissed off element. But I want to be crystal clear, right? Like I'm not taking anything away from the Jets. This Jets roster is just arguably just as, if not more, loaded. I'm just going to ride the pedigree that I know that the Niners are going to be coming hot off of, and they're going to be pissed off.
Will
Those are
Hassan
my two
Reddick
big
play?
reasons. Yeah, so we did have to discuss it, but we did have to discuss that at least.
I mean, I take the Jets because I look at it like this. I like what the Niners have done in the past years. I think we might be seeing the effects of that Trey Lance trade right now. That depth on the defensive line is not what it used to be. So I think for teams,
Even spots of the O line, Niners fans get mad at me.
100%. So I honestly think the Jets might have a better D line and they might have a better O line, and we always talk about trenches. So it's like I just think the Jets are better on paper when you look at trenches. I don't know about skill positions, obviously. The Niners beat them out just about everywhere, right? Like on skill positions, on offense at least. But I just think if the Jets are able to run the ball and control the game like that and just kind of slow down the 49ers offense, I mean, I don't see why the Jets can't win this game, and I don't see why they don't. Like, to me, like this is the 49ers game to lose, and I think the Jets are going to ride on that. Like, I think the Niners, obviously both these teams are going to come out swinging. They have to. But it's also kind of A-Rod revenge game. He didn't really get to show what he was doing last year.
No, and I'm glad you mentioned that because that was kind of the final thing that went into my thought process in this, because I agree with everything you just said. All very valid, and I 100% agree. That's kind of my thing, though, is in the back of my mind is, look, because we always talk about this too. We've already talked about with other guys today. When I haven't seen you for more than a year and you're getting older, as much as I still want to believe, and I do believe, especially for Aaron Rodgers, he's going to come out and still be that same MVP caliber guy. But there's always a chance that you come out and just look older, right? And if that's the case, all of a sudden, I feel like that's the biggest thing where I had to lean the Niners in this case. It's just if A-Rod just doesn't come out super sharp, looking a little older, and again, Jets fans, that's not what I expect. But I'm an objective person, and I understand that it is at least a possibility. Whereas with Brock Purdy, it's like there's no excuse, man. Like you're getting paid, you're fighting to get paid. You've been right the centerpiece of the team, and you're young. You still got your guys. You got re-signed. There's no excuses for Purdy. So that was kind of my bottom line as far as like why I think more than anything I kind of like edged out the Niners.
Thank you guys so much for watching. This has been our week 1 game picks. We're going to be live every Saturday morning doing our game picks. It's 11 on the dot. We got you out right on time to go watch some college football. It's going to be a great day. Week 1 of the NFL starts tomorrow. Well, the Sunday games at least. We're going to be having videos Monday through Saturday. Sunday, I think we're just going to, we had an idea to go live, but like, I don't know. I don't want to pull people away from the TV. There are going to be games on. So with that being said, keep an eye out for our new videos every week for the NFL season. If you don't know ball, want to know ball, be sure to subscribe. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a good day and watch some football.
Yes, sir.